Hey there, welcome to the Profit by Design podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sabrina Starling, the author of the How to Hire the Best series and the 4-Week Vacation. And today's topic is a really fun one because it has the power to change your life in a positive way. And so I'm talking about mastering work-life balance today and the power of combining a 25-hour work week with a 4-week vacation. So, as we dive in, a quick reminder we record live here on the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn every Friday at 11:30 Central. So, for those of you tuning in, I see we have a couple of viewers at least across these different channels. StreamYard doesn't always allow me to see all the people who are here. So, it would be great if you would comment in the chat that you're here, say something that you're excited about, vacation or a 25-hour work week. Let me know that you're here. And I'm going to be giving away copies of the 4-week vacation to those of you who show up live here and comment in the chat today. So be sure if you're here live to do that. And we're going to dive in because this topic, I didn't realize how powerful a 25-hour work week was for many, many years. I've built Tap the Potential working a 25-hour work week. And I used to keep it a secret that I was working 25 hours a week because I was working with business owners who were working 60, 70, 80 hours a week when they were coming into Tap the Potential. And I felt like if I talked about my 25-hour work week, they would resent me or I think I didn't have a real business. And back then I was running a virtual business before virtual businesses were cool. So I just thought, I don't know that anyone can really relate to this, but as I started talking to people about the 25-hour work week, I got a lot of feedback that, hey, I want a 25-hour work week too. This is really cool. How are you doing it, Dr. Sabrina? So that's what I want to share with you today. And what I also want to share with you, though, is I want to juxtapose the 25-hour work week with the 4-week vacation, because sometimes you might think, well, I can't do both. If I want a 25-hour work week, I can't possibly take a four-week vacation. And absolutely you can. And the 25-hour work week actually sets you up to be able to take a 4-week vacation. So that's what I want to share with you today. This is such a fun topic because it really is about taking your life back. I want to acknowledge Minky Mamas. You guys are here live. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you here. So as we dive in, I want to just kind of go back to the beginning for myself and share with you how I came to be working a 25-hour work week. So I've shared my story before about my childhood and how just being raised with a dad who just worked his tail off and hustle culture, how that really impacted me and a lot of the gremlins that I had to learn how to let go of and learn how to just enjoy my days and not worry about getting more and more done. And that's been a lifelong journey for me. And what I haven't really shared though before is that I haven't talked about my mother and her impact on me. So my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and when I was born, she decided she's gonna quit her job, and she was gonna dedicate herself to raising me. And I mean, that's just an amazing gift right there, right? And so my dad, that's why he was working all the time because my mom wanted to be home with me. And so I learned that as a child growing up. That was my perception of what being a good mother is. And I had huge conflict inside because on the one hand, I was encouraged to go to college and succeed and have a career. And then on the other hand, I have a mom who's a stay-at-home mom, and she dedicated her life to raising children and raising me. And that was her focus. And I was like, I'm a mess inside. I don't know how to justify all of these different wants that I have. And so when I went into business and I quit my job, that was the moment that I really had clarity. And I was raising my newborn baby at the same time that I started my business. And that's when I really had clarity that, you know what, I can do both. But I will not work more than 25 hours a week because I really wanted to be home with my children as much as possible and be a part of their childhoods. So I got clear with myself, like how much time am I willing to put my daughter in daycare? And the answer was, well, no more than 25 hours a week. That's it. So that is how I built the business. Is I had that parameter in place. And I firmly believe that that was one of the best decisions I made, because limits force innovation and creativity. So I just started working 25 hours a week. She would go to daycare, and that's how I got things done. And it was really hard because I didn't know anything about time management or effectiveness. I just knew how to work really hard. And when it was just me and I was in graduate school, I had no one else that I was responsible to. I wasn't married. I didn't have a child. I could just work all the time and study all the time and whatever. It was fine. But now all of a sudden I'm married. I have a child. I don't want to put her in daycare more than 25 hours a week. And I have no time management skills. And the crazy thing is one of my very first speaking engagements, I went to the Chamber of Commerce and I told them I'm starting a business, and they said, "Oh, you should do some speaking. We'll help you. We'll do a lunch and learn." And I said, "Well, what topic would you like me to talk about?" And they said, "Time management." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't know anything about time management." But it was really good because it forced me to start learning. And so I started doing all this research and reading about time management. Meanwhile, I'm taking care of my newborn. And one morning, I had dropped her off at daycare, and I had come home, and I walked in, and she had messed all over herself. You know, babies, they throw up. And I had to quickly launder her bedding because she was going to come home in a few hours, so she needed clean bedding, and the house smelled. So I was trying to do that, and I'm like, okay, but I have to get all this stuff done at work, and I only have a few hours to get it done. And I was in the laundry room, and I just had this huge meltdown, like just blubbering, tears everywhere. And I was like, I just can't get this all done. There's too much on me. I can't, with work demands and raising baby, and I'm not making anybody happy. I'm a hot mess. And I was just crying and crying. And all of a sudden, this kind of clarity came over me. And I asked myself, okay, Sabrina, if you can only get one thing done in the limited amount of time you have to work today, what's going to be the most valuable thing that you can get done that'll move the business forward? And I took a deep breath. I let myself answer that. Right now, I don't remember what my answer was, but whatever it was, I went and I did that thing. And the beautiful thing is it gave me peace, because I got that one thing done, and I knew it was a valuable activity that would move the business forward. And the next day, I started off feeling really stressed. I was like, oh, I got my daughter to daycare. I came rushing home because I was going to get to work and make the most of that time that I had. And then I just stopped with clarity. And I asked myself, okay, Sabrina, what's the one thing you're going to do today that's going to move this business forward? Just focus on getting that done. And that has become my guiding principle for how I've grown Tap the Potential over 17 or 18 years now, is just that clarity of asking myself every day, what's the most valuable use of my time today? And if I can only get one thing done, what am I going to do? And it was a few years later that I read Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism. And he has a variation of this question that I think is even more powerful. And his question is, what's the one thing I can do today such that everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That's such a powerful question. What's the one thing I can do today so that everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Just imagine, what's your answer to that? Because that's what you need to be doing today. And so as I started really just exploring time management, because I saw our business owners at Tap the Potential, this was the biggest struggle that they were having, and working so many hours. And I got really into just looking at how do we entrepreneurs make the best use of our time. And I came across Perry Marshall's book, on the 80-20 principle. And in this book, he talks about how when it comes to time management and using the 80-20 principle, only 20% of our activities in a given day or a given week really move the needle. Those 20% of activities those are the ones that are responsible for 80% of the results that we get. And I thought, yes, I've been living that. I can totally see that in my life. And it made me even more aware of where I was investing my time in the business. Meanwhile, While I'm encountering that idea, I'm starting to notice as I'm talking to our clients, because I start off every session in coaching asking, what are your wins and successes? And I track our clients' responses over time. And back then, what I was really tracking is, what are they doing that's growing the business and freeing up their time? And I started just noticing patterns of what really moves the needle in these businesses. And that's how I came to adapt Perry Marshall's chart of $10,000 an hour activities. I adapted it for small business owners. And I love this tool because when you look at this chart of $10,000 an hour activities, you can see what a $10 an hour activity looks like versus $100, $1,000, and a $10,000 an hour activity. And I always encourage our clients to have the potential, print this chart out and put it over your computer screens and your monitor so that your vision falls on it a lot. So you're reminded about the highest and best use of your time. And what's beautiful about this chart of $10,000 an hour activities is it makes us highly aware of when we get into the weeds. And that's what I see as our biggest challenge as business owners, is we can easily get pulled into the weeds very, very quickly. So an example of that is if you're starting your day by checking email, you are inviting yourself into the weeds. It's like, hey, I'm just going to go run off into the weeds right now. Because when you're checking email, people are requesting things of you, right? And so immediately you are dealing with random people and their agendas for you, and they're creating your agenda for the day. So you've got to get control of your time and really start your day with, when's the best time for me to get my highest value activity done? And as a general rule of thumb, that's usually going to be the first thing in the morning for every one of us, because it's so easy for things to go wrong in the business. Somebody needs something and we will get pulled off track. So one of the things that I've really learned over time is how important it is to time block and protect my time for these highest value activities. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't time block 100% of my day, but my high value activities are time blocked because they're important and I need accountability for it. So I encourage you, when you're time blocking for your high value $10,000 an hour activities, I would encourage you to let your team members know, this is the time when I'm doing XYZ. Please don't interrupt unless it is, something really important. And once they understand that you're blocking time to do the highest value activities in the business, they will start to support you in protecting that time. And the thing to always remember is, if you're not getting around to doing the $10,000 an hour activities in the business, who else is doing them? Nobody. There's nobody on your team doing them. So the business isn't going to grow. And this is where we see so many business owners you get your business to a certain level and then you're just stuck. And so this is about, okay, time management is hard. I see, Mickey Mom, as you said, you struggle with time management. And that's Sue there. Sue, this is hard for all of us. And so what I want you to think about is, when you're blocking your time, you have your team aware of it. And the other thing that you can put in place in your business that's really helpful is to have one-to-one meetings with your team members. Either you're doing them or someone else on your team is doing them. And the reason this is helpful in protecting your time for the $10,000 an hour activities is because when your team members know they have dedicated one-to-one meeting time with you, they are much less likely to interrupt during your $10,000 an hour activity time in your business. So, and this also, the one-to-ones also eliminate what I like to call the drive-by questions or the got-a-minute questions, because those can totally derail us. In our virtual team setting, when I am focused and I'm doing $10,000 an hour work, I turn off the phone and notifications because we have Voxer. And as soon as I hear Voxer, my brain is immediately like, I want to go respond. A team member needs something from me. And it's kind of like, moms and babies, how when we hear a baby cry, we are just hardwired, like we want to go respond and help. That's kind of what happens for me when I hear Voxer. So I have to turn off my notifications. And I really just get nose down. But I also know that there's times in the day where I'm going to go check Voxer. There's times in the day when email will be handled. There's times in the day where if a team member has a question, they can get that addressed. But the $10,000 an hour time is protected in the business. And the beauty of the $10,000 an hour activities and the 25-hour work week is that when you are doing your $10,000 an hour activity time consistently, and it doesn't even have to be every day of the week. There are some days that are blocked now for me. I block Monday and Friday for content creation. So doing a podcast, content creation, that's a high value activity. And I used to have just an hour or two blocked in the morning for that. And what I realized is I wasn't able to go in depth enough for writing articles and developing content and creating podcast episodes. So I needed to block off full days where I don't have any meetings or other responsibilities. So, but it didn't start that way. I started with smaller blocks of time. And so I want to give you that perspective as you're looking at doing this. And tying this all into a 25-hour work week is what I've come to appreciate, is that the more consistent I am with holding my time blocks for $10,000 an hour activities, the less time I need to be in the business doing other things. Because the beauty of the $10,000 an hour activities are that they set the business up to run without you. That's what's on that chart of $10,000 an hour activities, those things that you need to be doing that really hone and refine the sweet spot, that set the business up to be profitable, that help you develop your team and get them where that you can delegate things. All of those are $10,000 an hour activities. And so if you're making sure that you get 6 hours a week of $10,000 an hour time, that's a great place to start. And it may be 2 hours here, 2 hours there, but you're protecting your time. And the other piece here is don't get all perfectionistic on yourself with this. If you block 6 hours a week of $10,000 an hour time and you only get 4 of those hours in, that's great. You celebrate that, because that's 4 more hours than you did last week, right? That's a big deal. And you've done 4 hours of something that is moving your business forward. And the next week, try again, try to hold the 6 hours. And every time you struggle with time blocking, I was just having a conversation with one of our clients about this yesterday. He's just fessed up. He said, I blow right through my time blocks. And honestly, we hear that from our clients a lot of the time. It's really common. So you get those time blocks and then you just blow right through them. And I said, usually what's going on is when we blow through our time blocks, they're not on our calendar at an optimized time. They're just thrown somewhere on a calendar where we saw an open space. And we really need to step back and think, when is the best time? When are we going to be most effective? For me, with anything that's creative, I need to do that early in the morning. I have zero creativity at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, my mind is going. I've got the creativity. And so for me, that's where I really put the emphasis. But for you, and whatever your high value activity is that you need to be working on, look at your calendar and think about, when am I most likely to do this? When am I going to have the energy that aligns with what's needed here? And assigning the time for that around when you have the energy. And then the other piece is making your team aware of it so that they will be less likely to interrupt you and more likely to hold you accountable. And as you do more and more of your $10,000 an hour time, your business will need less and less from you. And the other beautiful thing about the chart of $10,000 an hour activities is it shows us exactly what we need to be delegating. And so checking email, calendar management, those are some of the activities that are $10 an hour activities. And we don't need to be doing those. We can easily hire an executive assistant who can support us in that. And it's not a full-time hire. That can be an independent contractor outside the business. And we can get those things off of our plate. And I'm going to be honest with you, I check email once a week, sometimes twice a week. And my executive assistant will tell me if there is something in my email that needs attention today. But other than that, she just filters it, responds, handles things, and sends to me the things that I need to be aware of or things that I need to deal with. And anything that's time sensitive, she says, hey, Sabrina, you have an email over here. Go. It's got this subject. When I have my little administrative time during the day, I handle that email. it allows me to show up more fully present in everything I'm doing. And that's really where the power of this starts to come in, is we are doing less and less context switching. And so we're able to show up more fully present and be more engaged. And because of that, we're going to be more effective with our teams, our leadership, and the decisions that we make. So it supports just the business running more and more smoothly. And I want to pause here and just share a couple of resources that I've been mentioning. So the chart of $10,000 an hour activities, you can download that at tapthepotential.com/10K. And I also want to let you know that we did a two-part series on the podcast with Melissa Swire on how to hire an executive assistant. And you can go back to Profit by Design episodes 132 and 133 and listen to Melissa's input on the ins and outs of what you need to know about hiring an executive assistant and how to work effectively with an executive assistant. So the other piece around delegation is, as soon as you're delegating, you are taking steps towards your 4-week vacation, right? Because you're taking more and more off your plate. You're setting your team, you're putting systems in place, and you're setting your team to be able to handle things in your absence. So that all supports moving towards the 4-week vacation. But the other piece that I want to share around a 25-hour work week is, when you get really clear, like, okay, I've only got 25 hours this week. There's a lot that I need to do. What are my highest value activities? What are those $10,000 an hour activities? And you time block those and you get those in your calendar. You'll start to see that a lot of what you have been doing is irrelevant. It doesn't move the business forward. It can be delegated or trashed. Maybe nobody needs to be doing it in the business. And one of the things that I learned is, when my oldest daughter went off to kindergarten and she went to school for a full day, all of a sudden I had a lot more time. And I quickly started frittering away my time and got into things that didn't move the business forward. I would spend time just scrolling social media endlessly and randomly posting here or there, but it wasn't doing anything for the business. And so we spend a lot of time just that we fritter away, and we're not really aware of it. So one of the tricks that we teach our clients is to do a time audit. So if you print out a log of 15-minute increments, and there are some different apps out there that support you in doing a time audit, free apps, and you just track every 15 minutes what you're doing. And then when you get that log printed out, and then you go through using the chart of $10,000 an hour activities, and you assign the dollar value of those different activities, you will quickly see that most of your time is being spent on activities that are worth $100 or less an hour. And it's eye-opening, but it just makes you highly aware, okay, I have a better way that I can use my time. And as you start working with an executive assistant, one of the most powerful ways that an executive assistant can support you is helping you identify your ideal calendar. And this is where you lay out, like, if you had the ideal week and you could do things at times that were optimized for you to set you up to succeed. So you would be putting your exercise time, if you like to read, if you like to journal, meditate. I like to knit. I like to do art. Those are all things that I would put on my ideal week, just so I could visually see, okay, if everything goes exactly right, this is how it should be. That becomes a tool that your executive assistant can use to support you in moving your weekly calendar more and more in alignment with your ideal calendar. And it's not going to be overnight. You're not going to create your ideal calendar and hand it to an executive assistant, and then next week, all of a sudden, you're living your ideal week. It takes time. I think many of you know Melissa. When she first started working with us, she came on as my executive assistant. She's now moved up to our lead strategist role. but she started as executive assistant. And it took her about, I think, 3 months for us to get me in alignment with my ideal schedule. And that meant that I had lunchtime built in and I had breaks between meetings. And I had this 25-hour work week, and I had my blocks of time for content development. And I had my blocks of time for meeting with team. And I had my blocks of time for meeting with clients, all those things that were needed from me in that 25-hour work week. But here's the real secret, I think, for making a commitment to a 25-hour work week and making it work for you. And that is having some sort of natural accountability for a hard stop at the end of your day. It is too easy to just keep working because you see things on your list that need to get done. And so you just keep working. For me, my hard stops are when my kids get out of school and there's after school activities. And I mean, that is a hard stop because I don't want them being the last one in the pickup line or sitting out in the parking lot waiting for mom. That's horrible. And so I know when I have to stop, and that's when I stop. And there's no coming back to work after that because there's after school activities, and then there's dinner, and then there's homework. And by then I am fried. Oh, and I'm working out too while they're doing their after school activities. So by the time all of that is done, I am fried. I'm ready for bed. So that is, for me, what's working for holding my hard stops. I would encourage you to find your hard stops. If you don't have kids and responsibilities that way, find a buddy to meet you at the gym. And I'll tell you, if you're going to go work out at the gym, you don't want to be showing up at 5 o'clock because it is packed. You want to be there at 3:30 or 4. That's when it's not packed. That's when you can get to the equipment. So that, whatever you need to put in place, have commitments to someone else, an exercise class, someone who meets you at the gym. Maybe it's going for a walk in the evening with your wife. These things create that natural accountability where someone else is counting on you to be done at a specific time. And that will help you hold that boundary better. And there are times where I have to stop and evaluate, okay, I'm going to have to work longer than 25 hours this week. And if I don't, it's going to cause me stress. So yes, I'm going to go longer than the 25 hours. But every time consistently, my experience is I become less and less effective after working 25 hours. So if it goes to 30 or 40 hours, I'm less effective. And I think that's true for all of us. And the research backs it up, especially for anyone who is doing thinking work. And most of us business owners are thinking all the time. We're constantly thinking about our businesses. If for any of us doing thinking work, our effectiveness dwindles, starts to drop off after 25 hours in the week. So really be, honest with yourself about looking at how effective am I when I'm really working, 40 or 50 hours a week even, and what could I do to reduce my time? And as you start to do this, you create more time for your self-care. And that's the best part of this, because again, it's about being more effective, and it's not about being busier. This is about being more effective in a 25-hour work week. So when I'm exercising regularly, when I'm stretching and doing yoga and I'm meditating and I'm journaling and I'm eating healthy meals because I have time to prepare them and I have time to stop and eat lunch, all of that makes me more effective during my day, and I can whip through things faster because my brain is working, right? When we're tired, when we're sluggish, our brains don't work very well. And that's where we make a lot of mistakes and we have rework. And so this is just all about looking at how to optimize yourself and making yourself more and more effective. As we tie this together with the 4-week vacation, as you are working more and more of a 25-hour work week, it forces you to delegate more. And as you're delegating more, you're taking things off your plate, and it becomes easier for you to block times to be out of the office for full days and not be available. And that's a great mini vacation test because your team is showing you, hey, I can handle things. Look at us go. We've got these things. And so I would encourage you that whatever the longest amount you've been able to be away from your business fully unplugged, you look at stretching that out. So if it's a week that you've been able to be away fully unplugged, schedule a vacation test and go away for 2 weeks. you can totally do it. If you've been away for a week, you can totally do 2 weeks. There's no reason not to. And then once you've done 2 weeks, try 3 weeks and then 4 weeks. You just gradually build up to that. But through putting your business, really what you're doing is you're putting your business on a diet when you're saying, okay, I'm going to work this 25-hour work week. I'm going to focus on the $10,000 hour activities. And you also start to train your team in the $10,000 an hour thinking, because we want everyone on our team constantly moving up in the value of the activities that they are doing on the team. So, and this is the beautiful thing, people will come in at entry level in the business, and those A players will quickly master the entry level activities, and then you can move them up to the next level, and you start to align what they're doing in the business with their strengths, and they become more and more effective. So this isn't just about you necessarily taking vacation and working these 25-hour weeks. As you get your team focused on doing their highest value activities in the business and delegating down to entry level people, and they're moving up in their responsibilities and getting more and more aligned with their strengths, they become more and more effective. And it may not take a 40-hour week for them to accomplish the results that they need to accomplish for the business. And that's the best thing, because then you're opening yourself up to being able to give production bonuses, or if they're on salary, maybe they don't have to work a full 40-hour week. They can work a reduced week. And that makes you a highly attractive, great place to work. It makes you an employer of choice. So all of these things actually work together. All of that efficiency supports your profit first goals, with you being able to make the business more profitable and you being able to pay yourself more. And meanwhile, your whole team is learning about work-life balance, and that work supports life, and that they can work really hard and show up and be present and do great work, and then turn off, be done, go take care of themselves, go take care of their families. And then when they show up to work again the next day or after their vacation, they're engaged, they're fully present. And that is radically different than what is going on in the workforce in most companies, because the majority of team members are not engaged on a daily basis. There's some statistics that say that the average team member is putting in about 2 days of work in a 5-day work week. And that's because, number one, we're not effective after about 25 hours. We start to lose our focus and concentration. And number two, they're feeling really stretched and pulled they're not able to get to their exercise and their family members and take care of things. So all of this really starts to come together and create that great place to work. And it supports you being able to have a 25-hour work week and take a 4-week vacation. So I hope what I've shared with you today has been very helpful. I hope it's given you some ideas for yourself. The best place to start is get that chart of $10,000 an hour activities. Head to tapthepotential.com/10K and download that. And the other thing that I want to share with you is, if you want our support at Tap the Potential, you should just head on over to our homepage at tapthepotential.com and book a call with a member of our success team. And they're going to want to hear about your challenges, your situation, what you're trying to accomplish. And they will talk with you about the opportunity to work with us and what that would look like in our Better Business, Better Life program. And if it turns out that the Better Business, Better Life program is not a good fit for you, they're going to share resources, because we have a lot of them at Tap the Potential. They're going to share resources that are directly aligned with the challenges that you're experiencing. So you have nothing to lose. So head on over to tapthepotential.com/book a call and go ahead and have that conversation with a member of our success team. And finally, as I close out today, I want to remind you that we have a big, hairy, audacious goal to disrupt hustle culture in entrepreneurship. And if you want to be a part of that and join us in disrupting hustle culture, you can take the 4-week vacation pledge. And you can do that at tapthepotential.com/pledge. When you make the 4-week vacation pledge, you're saying, in the next 12 to 18 months or 2 years, I'm taking a 4-week vacation. I'm setting my business up. I'm going to do the $10,000 an hour activities. I'm going to set my team up for success. And I am going to take my life back from my business. So you can do that at tapthepotential.com/pledge. Thank you for being with me here today. And I hope you are inspired to put your stake in the ground and start taking your life back from your business. Bye for now.